G'day everybody and welcome to episode 2 of what we have decided to call Marketing Theatre, because that's pretty much what it's going to be about. So I'm Paul Adams.
I'm Sherryl. Secomb.
And this is Marketing Theatre. So we had a bit of a chat last week, which was really great. So super pumped to be back again. And this week we decided that we would talk about attention and getting attention and everything around that. I mean, we're in an attention game. No one's going to come and see your show if no one knows it exists. So thought that would be a really good place to start. And that'll lead into, what you were talking last week about, Sherryl, with, marketing packs and media kits and photos and all the sorts of stuff that goes into helping you be seen in the right light. But before any of that happens, we have to get people to know that we exist. So what are your thoughts on where to start with that kind of thing?
I think for me, it's about a mindset more than anything. You can head straight to tactics, which is what people usually do. But before you get there, you have to change your mindset about what building awareness actually is. And in fact, what marketing theatre actually is. And building awareness is not about telling people all about you. We tend to approach marketing our creativity.
Oh, she's frozen. Or maybe I've frozen from her side. I'm not sure. She was saying it was a bit laggy before. Are you there?
Yeah.
That just lagged out.
Yeah. There you go. Love technology.
Did you lag out from your end as well?
I've got, just the internet connection is unstable, it's telling me. So Friday night internet.
We should not do this on a Friday night.
Probably not a good idea.
Let's find a better day.
So as actors, we're taught to listen. But when we put on our marketing hat, that's not what we do. We start to talk about ourselves and it becomes a one-way relationship. It's let me tell you everything that I do and what you need to do in response. Whereas building awareness for your theatre company, for your creative career is the long-term goal, is a long-term job. But it's really changing your mindset that what you're doing is starting a conversation. It's two-way. And that means it changes everything that you do. Let's take social media, for instance. You can get on social media and the one-way relationship says, let me post lots of things that are basically advertising, which is buy tickets, or this is what I'm doing, or come see my show. And that's all we do, generally. Whereas if you have the two-way or relationship mentality, that mindset of building relationships, you are not just getting on your channel and telling people what you want them to do. You're also building relationship on their channel, on the channels of everything from the venues to producers to other artists. And you are helping them in that you're having a conversation with them. So they'll put out their posts, the venues that you're involved with. We'll put out a post about something that they're doing. You'll get on there and not just like the post, but you'll actually have a decent comment, not just, great stuff, but you'll actually have a useful and authentic comment or conversation with them. So you are building relationship with them because you're helping them on their social media, but you're also they're becoming aware of you because you are being useful and you are being genuine and you're building relationship with them. You haven't said anything about what you're doing, but you're suddenly being noticed. Now you have to do this a multiple of times, but I think it becomes, the more you do it, it changes the way you think as well, because you start to serve, you start to think networking and relationship building rather than what do I want and let me tell you about it. So for me, if you can shift your mindset, it changes. It's a game changer in marketing theatre. It's mindset, definitely.
Yeah, interesting. I think that's something that a lot of people don't do actually is, think about all of the places that people might see your show, whether that's, like you said, on the venue, websites and their social media and all that kind of thing. And I don't know that I've really ever seen artists engage very much on those places. So, it's like we leave it to the venue to promote and, but there would be, I think from a customer kind of audience member point of view, that would be interesting to see the artist jump on and comment on that post, and you're sort of breaking that barrier down a little bit, aren't you?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to take, a great deal of time. You can allot, 30 minutes, even 15 minutes in a day to do this. You might have your post go out and then you spend 15 minutes interacting with people who comment on your post. But B, getting out there, and you make it a habit of just going and visiting people you want to build a relationship with. So if you are a performing artist and you're building awareness of your own personal brand, that's what you're doing. You're networking online.
Yeah.
So being genuine, of course, but you are going and visiting people, places on these accounts and having a genuine input, whether it be a Facebook group for actors and that sort of thing. If you have a service mindset, which is I'm going to help you rather than, again, let me tell you about myself. This also tackles or helps with something that I come across constantly with artists, is that they have a problem with what they call with self-promotion, the term self-promotion.
So true.
And I think it's because they have this preconceived idea about what self-promotion is. And it's associated with a negative connotation, or, whether it be Instagram influencers or whatever it is in your mind about what self-promotion is. You have to get over it. You have to get over it. And understand that self-promotion is not advertising. It's not big noting yourself. It's sharing who you are, what you do, but building relationship with people. It's the self-promotion thing is a huge thing for us.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think that shift in definition is the thing that a lot of artists need to find. Is a lot of artists, I think, and certainly I did for a long time, we approach that concept of self-promotion as it being very salesy, and all I do is talk about me, which is, exactly the stuff that you're saying not to do. It's not just about, it's all about me and that sort of thing. But that sense of, people are interested to know who is creating the work. Those sorts of things are interesting to people. And if we can shift our mindset from self-promotion being that negative context of being very salesy and sleazy, and it's just about, me trying to step on top of you to, get up there, into that sense of really you're just kind of building relationship and, trying to let people in rather than push yourself out, I think is a better way to see it. So
that's right. I mean, the first thing I say to people when they say, well, I don't like self-promotion because it's this, and this. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? And they go, I don't know, but isn't that what self-promotion is? Well, no, if it's not that for you, then don't do it. We seem to be locked into this very narrow idea of what, how to use social media, how to promote what we do. And it's
I think you hit
very big on disrupting, just, disrupt the whole process.
I think you hit it on the head before when you talked about the mindset. I think we very quickly take on understanding of things that have negative connotations, and that's sort of, we razz each other about things and we pay each other out, and we're quick to pull other people up or down, pull people up as in kind of stop them, or pull them down as in, tall poppy syndrome type thing, when it appears like somebody is being very kind of self-promoting. And I had to make that shift for myself as well, and find that difference between being sort of selfish in the way that you do that, as opposed to actually just talking about the work. A phrase that I adopted a few years ago was, I always wanted my work to speak for itself. But what I realize now is that I actually also have to speak for my work. So I have to tell people about it. Otherwise, no one's going to know it's around. But yeah, I think there is that negative connotation that becomes really easy to grasp. And then we've got to try and go through a process of learning some new definition for it and believing that that's what it is. You see it all the time in sales as well, don't you? You know, this sense that sales is sleazy, and yet real sales, true sales, is serving a need. It's really just providing a customer with something that they actually need. And it's the same for us. I think, you know, we've got to see it in that way, that our entertainment, our work is actually providing a need. People want to be entertained and they're happy to give you their money for it, but they're not going to do that if they don't know you exist. So you have to do it. You just have to.
There's this, it's wrapped up. There's so much, it gets so close to the heart with creatives. It's wrapped up in, this is my work, my baby. There's a lot of emotional attachment to it, understandably so. But we also have this lack of belief in ourselves, in that, well, who else will want to see this? And that's simply not, it's not positive, but it's not true. Plenty of people will want to see it. You just have to find those people. You have to believe in your work. So that goes hand in hand with speaking for your work, is believing in your work.
Yeah.
But if you approach your sharing your work from that behind, pushing it forward, saying, please like this, then no one's going to really be finding that terribly attractive. No one wants to be involved with something that's needy. You know?
I think that's a really great point. And I think it's that sense of, you know, I think a lot of artists would say that they do believe in their work. And I think the gap, though, is that a lot of artists don't believe that other people will want to believe in the work. And I think that's the downfall, is we are right. We put our heart, our soul, our everything into creating something. And then we get scared. Well, what if someone doesn't like it? Or what if no one likes it? And you get scared. You do. I mean,
I think it's good to understand that there will be people who don't get it.
Yeah.
Adjusting and become resilience is something we have to really, really grow as artists. And if you're going to put yourself out there and market what you do and share what you do, you better be resilient. You better be ready for the person who isn't interested in what you've got. And that's okay, because you're not marketing to the entire world. You are marketing and looking for people who love what you do. And that is not everyone. You have to be okay with that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like a sieve, you know, shoving everything in this sieve and shaking it around. And what falls through is not for you. What's left in the sieve are your people. They're the ones that you need to market to.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing that people forget or don't even realize. I think they don't even realize that, is that the people that don't like what you're doing or don't think it's very good, that's okay, because all you're doing is, you're filtering down closer and closer and closer to the people that do want to see it and are, you know, going to support it. And it's actually good to know that that person or that type of person isn't interested, because then you can stop spending time and money on trying to get them to see the work and put more effort into that group of people that is interested, that demographic, that age group, that belief, religious group, whatever it is, that group of people, that whatever that target market ends up being, that responds, and just keep finding those little things that work and doing more of that. But I think people are scared that they're going to upset people, or we get self-conscious that someone doesn't like us because they don't like that show. I mean, I remember the first big show I directed, you know, kind of semi-professionally. It was with an independent theatre company, and I could not go out during interval. I had to hold myself up. I was just so kind of angsty about whether there would still be people there after intermission. And I was just in pain throughout the whole first act, just pacing downstairs under the theatre, just waiting for interval to be over so I could go up and see how many people were still there. And it was full. It was still full. It was great. You know, it was nothing to be worried about. And what was awesome was, that kind of flipped the switch for me. And I've never felt that again. But that first time, oh man, so scared about the response. But
it becomes a stumbling block for us. This idea of, especially on social media where people are so free with opinions.
Oh, yes.
There becomes that something you've got, that resilience comes back. It's if you can learn to ignore that, know where you're going, and this comes down to a plan. It comes down to planning. And when most people approach their marketing for theatre production without a plan, then you don't have anything to support you when you hit that stumbling block of someone doesn't like that. And you question yourself, as is what I'm doing the right approach? Because you have no plan, no framework to fall back on.
Yeah.
So planning, comes down to planning.
I think actually digging through a marketing plan would be an amazing episode to go through and really map out what a marketing plan should look like, because I think there are a lot of us out there. I mean, I still sometimes, well, not sometimes, I still really struggle with the idea of how big a marketing plan should be and everything that should be in it. So let's pin that one for a future episode, because I think that's a monster. And I think there would be so much value in actually really digging into how do you actually build one? Because all of the stuff that I see online is really surface level and it doesn't really go into the detail in regards to some of that stuff. So pin in that one. We'll definitely talk about that. I think that'll be amazing. And would actually flow really nicely with the mindset that we've been chatting about where this should go, which is into that whole kind of side of things. So let's say we're past the point of we're good. We know we got to talk about it. What are some really useful, I mean, and let's go back and talk the difference, because you got to market your business and you have to market your show. So that's two different strategies, yeah?
Yeah, it is. You've always got two strands running. And the reason for that is that you imagine that you set up your entire, let's say, online presence for the show that you're doing. Now, what's the lifetime of that show? It might be a 3-month rehearsal period. It might be a month's worth of performances, and then the thing is done. So if you build a presence or a following, let's say on social media, now I'm prefacing this with your marketing strategy should be on and offline and much wider than social media, but let's go to social media. If you set up everything for just that show, then when that show is over, all those followers and that loyalty and that relationship that you built drops off the planet. It's gone, it's done. Because you have built that relationship just around the show. You haven't done anything about the fact that, well, there's a company behind this show.
Yeah.
The other side of that is that it's the psychology of purchase or psychology of buying. People make we all do, we make emotional purchasing decisions.
Yeah.
So if you imagine that an potential audience member is looking at 6 shows in Brisbane, which is where we are, 6 shows in Brisbane on a Friday night to choose from. Now, they have spent the last 3 months following the company A and their journey of producing the show, getting to know the people in the cast, getting to know the difficulties of producing a show, the fun of a day, just getting to know and feeling like they are connected to that theatre company and they're excited for that show. And company B, C, D, whatever, the other one over here, company C, oh, that's a great show. I love that idea. That's interesting. I'll put that on the table. Over here, the rest of them, I know nothing about them. The shows, I'm not really sure. That one's too expensive. That one's really cheap. But I keep coming back to this one that I feel like I am part of the family too. So whilst it doesn't guarantee you a ticket purchase, it puts you really, really high on the ladder within that psychology of purchase for them to make a choice. So that's running the 2 strands. The strand A is the company. It's always your theatre company or you as a personal brand, whatever it is. Let's start with the theatre company because you exist beyond the show.
Yes.
You are that personality, and there's so much more you can do. Your strand B is the show, and they run concurrently. They run together. So when that show B finishes and you start show C, you have continued to build, and you've got that audience connected that came from show B, and you just keep going, and you're growing all the time. So really, really hard work. If you're just building a following based on the show you're doing and just building your socials from that show, you are wasting so much opportunity.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other things in there that have been really highlighted to me in the last few months, actually. I've been chatting to a bunch of artists who, when they do a show, don't actively get, like, whether it's through a venue or whatever, but they're not religious about getting contact details for their audience. So they can't continue to market to them afterwards. So rule number one for me is you've got to get email address at the very least, so that you can continue to talk to those people. And that's the other thing, is people struggle with the idea of maintaining a list of some sort because they're not exactly sure when their next show is going to be. So they don't feel like they've got anything to talk to them about between the shows. So that idea of, well, yeah, okay, fine, I've sold some tickets, I've got some emails, but what do I do until the next show? So what are some things that you've seen that are really useful, that are work for people, that to keep that conversation going after the show? What's the sort of stuff that you've seen or that you recommend people talk about in between shows?
I think this is where we start to come to strategy, which is that you have multiple, what they call pillars within what you're talking about, what you share with your audience. It's not just a single pillar of this is my show and this is everything I talk about. If you look at a theatre company and you could build 5 or 6 marketing pillars, which would be, maybe, let's take off the top of our head, obviously the show, whatever show you're doing, and it doesn't have to be particular, specific. There is the pillar of the story of the theatre company or about us. Think of it like a website, I guess.
Yeah.
It could be what's happening it could be leadership. It could be, the difficulties of building, keeping a theatre company running. So it's the personality or the person behind it. It can be just fun and inspiration. It can be education, which can be down to what it takes to people on general audiences that are not theatre people but love going to the theatre, love to get behind the scenes. So education of what does a stage manager do, or what does it take to choose a show, or those sorts of things can be education. It can be industry news. So you could build a series of pillars, and this is great for your social media, because if you post just the same thing every single time, you're going to bore your audience to tears.
Yeah.
And you're going to bore yourself to tears to begin with. So we come back to that problem you just mentioned. What do you post when you haven't got a show? You become a person. So you've built a theatre company, and you generally build it with a set of beliefs, personal beliefs of why you've built this theatre company. That's important. That's one of the pillars. You have a purpose behind this. It's not just to put on shows. You have a deep personal reason for building a theatre company. Share that. Make yourself a person online. This is part of what you're building with the theatre company. So it's the what, where, when, why, how type thing. And
that all speaks to the personality of the company, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And you post something different each time. So you're serving this set of pillars.
I think that's a really clever way I think that's a really clever way to think about it, in, giving yourself those 5 pillars, those 5 areas, however you want to look at it, of conversational topics that you can come back to. The other thing I want to throw in there, which I think a lot of people don't think about, and they're sometimes hesitant to do, is that idea that it doesn't always need to be your voice. So in the midst of, industry news and that sort of thing, I post on my social medias and I send stuff to my email list about other companies and the shows that are on at the moment that might interest them, that are in the same kind of style of shows that I would do. So, I'm going to help promote someone else. They might get a few tickets out of it. If I'm performing in something for another company, or if I'm producing something for another company, I'll tell my mailing list about that because it may be of interest to them. But then finding blog posts, finding articles, finding anything else that is relevant around that, that someone else has written that you can share, give credit where it's due, obviously, but you don't have to always be coming up with ideas. You can be borrowing and using stuff that other people have created to feed your audience as well. And I think so many people don't think about doing that. They always think, oh, it's got to be, what do I think I need to tell them today? You don't have to just...
It comes back to the networking thing too. When you're sharing someone else's work and tagging them in so that they know you have shared it, giving them credit, you're building a relationship with them as well.
Yeah.
So that comes back to networking. But absolutely, you're making yourself valuable. You are adding value to your audience.
Yeah.
So that's not always going to be about you. It's going to be about other people and celebrating other people's work and, you know, being the place to go to or the person to go to in the know. Whatever it is that your goal for your marketing is, who you are, then that's what you're serving all the time.
Yeah. What type of things have you seen work? I mean, we're talking about building awareness, and one of the things that we do in, you know, other businesses, pretty much any other business, they're really good at it, that theatre isn't, I think, is the idea of a lead magnet, the idea of something that we're giving away for free of value to our customers that they will give us their email address and get onto our list for. Have you seen any theatre companies doing kind of lead magnets or anything like that that work quite well?
That's a really difficult one. Some of the things that, you know, for simply once you've built awareness and generated interest within a potential audience, you've got the obvious of early bird type stuff, like being the first to know, having a 48-hour priority when an audition is released or tickets are released. You get the notice of that 48 hours before the general public does.
Yeah.
People like to be the first to get stuff. That's an obvious one. You know, if you don't want to, it's difficult. I'm in two minds in things like discounting of tickets and things. You know, artists work so hard, and tickets are not, you know, they're not expensive to begin with generally in the independent world.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you start going down the road of cutting prices on tickets, I think you're just sort of setting yourself up for failure long term.
I think there's a couple of options in there. Then I think you're 100% right. I want to stay away from discounting as much as possible, because people then only buy when you discount. They're going to, I mean, I do it at shopping centres, you know. I'm not going to go and buy what I want from Kmart or Myers or whatever until it's on sale. I'm just not. So if we start generating that mindset in our customers, in our audience, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to go, oh, I won't worry, because I know they'll freak out 3 weeks out and do a 50% off or a 2-for-1 or a pay what you can or a 20% discount or whatever. So I think you're on absolutely the money, and that's my thoughts as well. I don't mind the idea of an early bird discount, that if you've purchased before a certain date, you can get it for a bit of a cheaper price, because that for me helps build a bit of cash flow for you, which, you know, gets you a few bucks early in the door, and you can reinvest some of that back into your marketing campaign. I don't do that much, and I don't like it a big lot. Like, it's not my favorite, but I think if I was going to discount, that would be the way. I think we give a bit away too much for free. And I think we not just tickets, but I think information. I think there's an opportunity for us to, well, for companies, and I see this done in other businesses like fitness and counseling and that kind of stuff, where they actually use their schedule, the services that they provide, those sorts of things, as a lead magnet. So you've got a very brief, basic description of the stuff that they do on the website. But if you want more detail, drop your email address in and it'll get emailed to you as a PDF, right? I think we've got an opportunity to do the same sort of thing, where we could generate a great program that's got lots of great photos in it and actually make that a lead magnet for a show. So that as people, if they're interested, and the deal here is that you're not just looking for ticket buyers, you can use that as a way to gauge people's interest, people that might be interested in the show. Hey, if you want to see a little bit more about this show, download our program here. It's got all the details, photos from rehearsals and everything, whatever. You can kind of do a pack up like that people can download rather than just access on the website, and use that as a way to get email addresses, because people might not necessarily be a ticket buyer straight away, but then you've closed the gap between them being an invisible prospect and a visible prospect, someone that's interested, but maybe not yet ready to come and see your show. So
Fabulous idea.
Yeah, I think there's ways for us to look at what we actually produce. And you're going to give those sorts of things away on the night, but if you've pre-prepared some kind of pack, which might come back to that strategy around the media pack and that sort of stuff, you can create that stuff and download that. So, I like to look at what other businesses do and see how we could apply that into the theatre world. And I think that
brings up a really good point. That's a fabulous idea. And that highlights the idea of, and especially in the world of COVID, which is when we're recording this now, when the world has changed and the way we do things has changed. What does that really mean? And I think what you just said there, that idea is fabulous. And it highlights the idea of doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? We have done things the same way in this industry for so long.
Yeah.
What does the program look like? Where do you get it? What do you pay for it? What does it look like? But doing something like that a little differently, the idea of, not printing something, saving some forests is great.
Yeah.
And using it as a lead magnet, allowing people to become involved and see it beforehand, providing it for them and subscribing to your email list in exchange for it. I think that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
And it's thinking outside the box, thinking differently to the way we have for so long.
Yeah. I think the thing that we really need to do, particularly in the independent sector, which, let's be honest, most of us are terrible at it. And it's something that I'm very focused on at the moment myself, which is why I'm thinking this way a lot more, is, I went to produce a show, and with the pivot that I did 18 months ago, decided that I would not lose money on the show. And so when we were maybe 6 weeks out from when we were expecting to open the show, we were able to, before we had to commit to the contract for the venue, just before that, we made the decision to pull the show and postpone, because at that point we had not sold enough tickets to make our money back. We weren't selling on any kind of trajectory that was going to actually get us the money back. So it was a hard decision, but we made that decision to postpone. And so we postponed to this year, and now COVID's hit, and we're going to have to postpone again. So, I could be really down about that, but what I'm actually thinking is this is a massive opportunity to find ways to build my email list and build my audience online in that way. I'm not even thinking online being social media. I'm thinking email list, because then I can directly market to those people when the show is ready, and actually then hopefully have a much better chance of selling the show out when it actually hits the stage, whenever that might be. So this sort of thing of like, I'm even thinking now, there's probably a document that I could put together about the show that has not yet been, that I could put on the website as a downloadable PDF. It's just information about the show, because we've got shots from, like, we did a photo shoot in costume with, the lead character, and we've got rehearsal shots. We've videotaped a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm putting video together for the YouTube channel. But, I'm even thinking now, even though we're probably going to postpone till, I don't know, Easter, June, July next year, because who's got confidence that people are going to come out at the end of this year and A, be ready to, or B, have the money to go out and buy tickets to a theatre show? I was listening to a podcast the other day with Sam, who was the artistic director of Queensland Theatre until recently, and he was saying the same thing. Just who knows when people are going to be ready to come out and spend. So so that idea. And the other thing that I did was, I'm targeting very specifically a market in kids shows for around primary school age kids. So I think I mentioned on the last episode, I sort of did this activity pack up for Easter. And maybe I didn't. I can't remember who I was talking to, but knowing that our show was a little bit away, like it was September, to try and generate some emails, we actually put together an activity pack for kids for the Easter holidays, which was filled with puzzles and games and colouring pages and all sorts of stuff that was themed to Easter, just to build the email list. So we did that up, had a graphic designer mate do a whole bunch of work on it for me. Thank you, Gabe. Amazing. And gave it away. And, you know, that grew my email list by like 200 people over the Easter period. So, you know, that's very targeted to the market that I'm going to hopefully target with the shows. And so that correlation is there. So trying to think differently about the way that we can grow our email list and have that audience before we need it, which is, you know, all about finding ways to build attention and get people's eyeballs on what we're doing. So, yeah. Sorry, bit of a rant there.
That's great. I mean, it shows that it highlights the idea of thinking outside the box and doing things differently and the value of that, what we've got to do, what people have to get used to doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, the question I ask when people say, but, you know, this is what we've always done. My question is, well, how's that?
Oh, frozen.
The answer is not well.
Lost that little bit. I'm assuming that question ended with you froze there. I'm assuming that was, and how did that work out for you?
That's exactly right. How's it working for you? It's not. So you know, we go for ages doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and it just, you know, it's bizarre.
Yeah, so, I think it's hard.
I've
been chatting to a lot of independent artists who, you know, will create, I mean, maybe a show a year, you know, if they're lucky, they're making one of their own shows a year. And I think that's their focus, is they think it's just about that one show. And I absolutely harken back to what you said earlier about everything else they could be talking to them about. And I think particularly for indie artists, the types of people that are coming to see the shows are generally actually a little bit like us. You know, so if you are a young mid-20s, I mean, I got a friend from a theatre show I performed in recently who we were working together in scenes the whole way through the show. And she's a burlesque performer, cabaret performer, sorry, not burlesque. I think she might do some burlesque as well, but her main thing is cabaret. But she doesn't do regular shows. So I think there's two ways to build attention here. One is, you know, start thinking about ways that you can build that email list or build that social media following and do what you were saying before about getting people online and offline. But I think we've got to get away from this idea that we have to always present a polished performance.
Yeah.
I would love to see artists who are creating stuff do a showcase of things I'm working on right now and make it free if you want. It's just about getting people to come and see your work and get into the habit of coming to see you. We're going to do, I think I mentioned this last time, we're going to do a live stream of the play, or at least record it and put it out there for people to have a look at. We'll probably gate that behind an email capture. I was talking to a buddy the other night, and we're setting ourselves a challenge where we're going to do 1 minute scripts on Zoom. Like, we're going to get together for an hour. We're going to create something in an hour. Then on another hour later in that week, we'll get on and we'll rehearse it, then record it. And we'll put that out there and use that to try and, you know, build awareness. It's, you know, I mean, if you're a live performer and all you're doing is live work, I don't see a reason why you couldn't be doing a small showcase once a month. And, you know, it's not going to bring in a lot of people, but it's going to start bringing in people. And I think we get our heads into this space of doing this massive one big thing. And yet we could potentially be doing 3, 4, 5 shows a year that are just tiny, that bring in 10 or 15 people, that are one night only, whatever. But those 3 people might come back next time. And if not, maybe the time after that, you start to build that momentum of your audience. And I think there's an opportunity for us to do lots more of that, because you're generally doing a lot of work for spec anyway, you know? if you're doing it for profit share, it's not for much. You know, it's that, let's get real about the truth of what we're doing. You know, we have this idea in our head that it's grandiose and it's going to be amazing and we're going to do it at a venue, and, you know, just do it. I think there's such a lack of action.
Yeah, that's true. And especially, I think that's been highlighted with COVID, is that so many people just stopped. There was nothing.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a time for that as we all adjust mentally and emotionally to, you know, the whole thing. But at some point you have to say, well, this has got to move forward. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know when we're going to get into a theatre or a venue of any sort. And even when we are out of lockdown, what does normal now look like?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's opening our minds up to, you know, if nothing else, look at it as basically, let's have some fun. Yeah. You know, life has got very serious. If I'm going to have fun with go back to my roots of why am I an artist? What do I do? And sharing it with an audience in a new way, digitally, online, and just have some freaking fun with it.
Yeah.
And use that, you know, get back to basics.
Yeah. I think that it's something that I learned a while ago is, you know, particularly when I took this pivot and when I'm going to focus on a single target market and really chase that and try and dominate that. Because I thought there was an opportunity there. There's other people doing work around it, but not really targeted in that way. And I thought there's an opportunity to kind of get in there and become a big player in that small space, which is, you know, a starting point. We did a whole bunch of different things to try and generate response through, you know, different types of lead magnets. Like I was giving away a gift card to the theatre show, or to the theatre company actually. So trying to build the email list by giving away a gift card that valued a seat. So that didn't work. No one really responded to that. Then I started giving away a free ticket, which means that I can actually go, well, it's a free ticket to whatever show you choose. That was better because people understood how to apply that better. So that was interesting. And the great thing that came out of that is I realized that I'm going to be doing different levels of shows. So there will be the big theatre show that's 30, 40 bucks a ticket. But then there's also going to be lots of little shows that are 10 bucks a ticket. And if somebody decides, well, I'm going to come to that show and use my ticket on that, well, it's only cost me a $10 ticket instead of a $40 ticket, because it'll be when it's convenient for them. So there's a great variation in that, not needing to spend the same amount and going, well, this is $10, but your gift card's 30. So now you've still got 20. How do I apply that later through my ticketing software? It's just not going to work. So converting it to a free ticket, going whichever show you choose to come to for free, you get to come to for free, right? And that was a way of building my email list. And that worked a little bit, and I'm going to keep trying that in different ways to kind of get that out there. But what I found most, the thing that grew the email the most, was having the thing. The Easter activity pack, it was tangible. People could get it. They could get it now. That worked. That grew the email list. The other thing that grew our email list and actually grew our engagement the most was actually holding a free play staged reading of the show. So when we knew we were postponing last time, we still wanted to deliver something because we had actually been advertising. And so we refunded everybody that had bought a ticket, and we because it was great because we already had their email addresses then. But then we actually promoted it as a free event, and we got a bunch of people to come and see that through our ticketing service. So they still had to register to say they wanted to come. So we got them on the email list. But they're the two things that have been the biggest drivers of emails. And they're both connected to having the thing. And so I think the more that as independent artists and small theatre companies can get out there and be creating stuff and showcasing and doing work, but being strategic about putting it behind something that captures an email address so that you can actually keep talking to those people later, rather than just posting it on Facebook and going, hey, we're going to do a live stream on this date. Do that, do the Facebook group, set it up, make it a private thing. But in order to get into that, you've got to register through this ticketing software so that you can capture their emails, or a Google form on Google Drive, just simply sending it there. What's your email address? What's your name? Great. Here's the link. So you can send them the link to so just having that small little, dare I say the word, sales funnel to actually capture the people who are interested so that you have them there to market later. And I think, if there's one big takeaway out of this conversation that I want people to kind of get, it's activity breeds response. Whether that is, like you were talking earlier about, being really active on your social media and having conversations and building relationships, or whether it's being really strategic about doing small micro shows for people. There's what's his name? I'm going to Google it. Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry.
All right.
So do you know Tyler Perry?
No, I know the name, but
Yeah, so he, big producer, actor, big time stuff now. He started out doing independent kind of productions based on this character that he created, which is an old woman. So it's basically, that kind of Dame Edna type thing, guy in drag. But it's this old, the old black grandma. And
I know. Yeah, I know. Yep.
Hilarious. And so he started by doing lots of small community shows, is my understanding of this. And, maybe if I'm wrong, someone will correct me, but that's my understanding, is that he started by doing that as small community shows that built an audience, that got popularity, but it was built through doing. And monster empire now, 20, 25 years, 30 years later, whatever it is. So, I think that's the thing. It's activity breeds response. I think that's big deal.
Do not despise the day of small beginnings. It's this idea of, what we're going to do has got to be really large. It's got to be, big, brassy, whatever. I think for the moment that day is gone. It's not here at the moment. And understanding the value of starting small and letting that radiate out. And I think one of the things that I want to make a point of tonight is, for creatives, is to get outside this idea that they only promote to their family and friends or to other theatre creators. Oh my gosh, it is there is huge potential. And people go, I tell people know that thing is on. No, they don't. They do not know that you exist. And you have this huge potential audience just even outside your front door, streets away, that you're a singer, you're an artist, you create something that would love entertainment. At the moment, there's a lot. I tend to see it because I'm in the industry. Yeah. So you've got, Little Red and you've got Tuesday Show Tunes, and you've got these creatives that are presenting shows. But who's watching them? And who do they present them to? If other theatre creators or other creatives know they're on, how much do they get out into my next door neighbour, to the people in my street who would love that stuff? If you're a local theatre company and the people in your region, the people around your theatre company, if you did those play readings like you were talking about, these don't have to be huge productions. You're not giving away a huge amount. You might be having a live Facebook tour of, your costume department. There's little things like this and as a side note, I'm not sure if it's in Australia yet, but recently Facebook released or announced that they were doing paid Facebook Lives. So you could actually gate Facebook Live. I'm not sure if it's hit our country yet, but that opens up a whole new thing.
That's monster.
Yeah. So, but doing those sorts of things where you, and so how do you get to find those people? Well, it comes back, I think we talked about this last week, about, being active in your local community's Facebook groups where there are tens of thousands of people in these groups, and letting them know, hey, we've got some free entertainment. If you're into, this sort of thing, did you know you've got a local theatre company, or local artists in your street. Come and see what we do, digitally online, Friday at 7 p.m. You've got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So it's going back to offering those little offerings of tastes of what you do, which they go, oh, hey, I like this. This is really cool. Let me follow them to see, what else they'll do. And later on, when you finally do get to do the full-scale production or whatever, you're building a local community people that are not theatre people who are busy doing their shows or, whatever when you're trying to sell tickets. You're opening up what you do and who you are to the general community, which is what we should be doing. We're artists. We should be promoting to our society, our community. That's what we're doing. That's who we're storytellers for, not each other.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get hit on that, though, because they think about that in terms of paid traffic and they get stuck. Yeah. And, I think the grassroots stuff of building relationship and building awareness through, actually being involved in communities of people, it's not, as much as social media has given us the ability to connect much more with many more people, we're actually becoming worse and worse at actually building that connection in many ways. I'm not saying everyone is, but, because we think we can just post it and it's out there, but it's not. I think that work that goes into it, behind it, and like you said, if you're playing a long game, if this is something you want to be doing for the next, for me, this is what I want to be doing for the next, until I'm dead, right? I don't know. I don't want to put a number on that. Lots until I'm dead. It's a long game. It's a long game. So don't be afraid to put in those micro steps now and actually know that every it's cliche, isn't it? But every step, every journey begins with a single step. And every person that has 1 million followers on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, started with 0. And it's just about the way that they actually engaged with that and pursued it. So great. Love it. Good stuff. Good chat.
Yeah.
Some great value in there, I think.
Subject, isn't it?
Yeah, love it. So what's the one thing you want people to walk away from thinking about tonight?
It's a two-way relationship. Build relationship. Be authentic. Two-way. Don't go out and tell everyone what you want them to hear. Go and listen and talk to them and build relationship. It's so much more effective.
And mine is do more. More activity will breed more response. Yeah. That's my philosophy. So cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks very much. Good chat.
Thank you. Yeah.
Same time next week?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do it.
Excellent. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning into Marketing Theatre, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.